guys, welcome to Nerding Out, the show where us GameSpot nerds and you nerd out over the things that we like. And today we're talking about The Walking Dead. The latest episode is called Go-Getters, so let's jump in. All right, guys, let's talk. So Maggie had a big episode last night. She was in a tractor. She ran over some stuff.
Yeah, she ran over some stuff. She defended Hilltop.
So what do you think's next for Maggie?
Maggie's going to take command, I think. She's definitely going to be the top dog because Gregory's not going to do it. Gregory's a dog to the Saviors. And I'm really hoping that Maggie and Jesus both set up a kind of a coalition together so they can then join up with Alexandria later down the road and the Kingdom to kind of form that alliance that we saw in the comic.
I'd like to see that.
I would really like to see that. And it's good to see Maggie taking command now. She's not mourning anymore. People are kind of tired of that. It's like Glenn's gone. All right, now I'm gonna focus on building back up the Hilltop and probably get Negan back for what he did.
Right. There was one line that really was evidence for that. Enid was like, "Are you okay?" And she was like, "No, but I will be."
Yeah.
So that's good.
I'm gonna fix things.
Go
and
Maggie.
her child survived too, which is good.
Although there's a really interesting tension this episode didn't address, which is that she doesn't know she's supposed to be dead.
Right.
So she was separated from the group. She went to Hilltop and they went back to Alexandria where Rick lied to Negan about her being dead. So if she takes over at Hilltop, Negan's going to know that Rick lied. So she doesn't know that she could potentially get Rick killed if she does follow through taking over Hilltop.
That could be a lot of trouble.
Yep.
Oh no. Okay. Speaking of Carl, so let's talk about Carl and Rick.
Well, they had an interesting relationship on this episode because we saw Carl kind of like standing up against Negan's crew, and it's almost like he still doesn't get, like, hasn't processed the death of Glenn and
Abraham. Yeah.
So I still don't get why he's still going against that I guess against the grain.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick's trying to convince him in this episode to just follow his lead, follow so that no one else gets killed.
Yeah.
And he eventually does, but we see later in this episode that he's in the truck with Jesus that we can get to later.
Which we hopefully see that now it's going to follow more of the comic because now we get to see that weird friendship that Negan forms with Carl when he sees Carl, taking action against his crew, which I'm really hoping, and I'm sure a lot of people are too, that we can finally get to see that weird friendship that forges like was in the comic. So, but we'll have to wait and see.
Is that what you're hoping to see?
I'm hoping that's what we can see because I really want to see some more character dynamics between the two of them because that's just so powerful in the book. And we haven't really touched base on that yet in the show. So I'm really hoping that happens for this.
So what's Carl's next move here, do you think? He's in the truck.
He's in the truck.
What's his plan?
Well, his plan is to get Negan and to obviously figure out what's going on behind all this. And who knows, maybe a rescue of Daryl might be in the process of this. You never know. Yeah. But I think what really will happen is that he's going to wind up killing a few of Negan's crew to get to Negan, maybe even get a shot off at Negan. And then we'll just see what happens to him from there.
I'm just hoping Carl grows up a little bit. It feels like he's still immature. It still feels like he's 3 seasons ago.
Right. And it doesn't help that he was on roller skates for part of the episode. Yeah. I mean, that's cute and all, but just grow up. He needs to grow up fast because in this world, you have take off the hat, cut your hair, grow up a little bit. That's our message to Carl right now. Let's talk about Simon. Aaron.
Yeah, it's interesting. Simon is no Negan. I think we keep seeing that Negan may have been looking for another second in command when he went after Rick, because Simon sort of tries the mannerisms of Negan, but he's not that intimidating, really. He's intimidating because he came with 100 guys. Negan is intimidating because he's Negan, and he screws with people's heads. So you can see him like try something out and not have it not quite work, like, oh, please give this to me. No, I mean, like, give it to me. He like tries to assert himself. And also like this whole idea that, working with Simon's crew, we see him work with different settlements. And the question is whether and this is what Carl's dealing with too, if you work with them, are they reasonable? I think that's the big question that we have right now. So he comes into Hilltop and he takes half their stuff, which was the original pitch they had. But if you're taking half of someone's stuff and then you take half of that and you take half of that and you take half of that, suddenly it's not so reasonable anymore because that's exponential. You're just taking all of their stuff at some point.
That's just bullying. Yeah.
So
math doesn't add up.
I think what everybody's dealing with at this point, besides just the intimidation of their crew, is like, can you work with them? Are they reasonable people to work with once you start obeying their rules?
Right.
You can definitely see a buildup of something's going to happen that's going to snap. Rick's crew, Hilltop, because all this sharing, all this half his mind kind of thing, that's not going to last. And I definitely see Simon being one of the people who might wind up, killing someone either from Hilltop or Alexandria just to try to assert his dominance that, I'm right up there in Negan's, level 2 just to prove a point. And that could wind up, starting the whole thing. Because something's definitely, I think, going to happen sooner or later to kind of break all this, locomotion, very slow buildup of setting stuff up. Because I don't know, like this episode was a little too slow for my comfort.
So as slow as that tractor chase with the zombies.
Yeah. It reminded me of that Austin Powers scene. It's like, move. Yeah. So predictions for next week? Anybody?
I can definitely see Carl making a move against Negan. It wasn't really heightened very much. It was mostly on Tara trying to find her way through a forest, but obviously being chased by both the dead and
who's hunting her.
That's another thing too. Is like who's going after her? Maybe it's another group. Maybe it might be a friend, and we don't know.
Well, they lost all their guns in a previous episode, and they still have to go get stuff for Negan, which means that they're sort of defenseless.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing she went out to get stuff for Negan.
Probably.
You hear Rick say, we only have one more day to deliver.
Yeah, it's like, what are we going to do? Like, we got to find something. And that could kind of push her over the edge to find out what she needs to do. Because she's obviously in danger in this episode. Like, she's hiding from something or someone. So, who knows?
And I'm wondering if we're going to get a death before the mid-season finale. Because the mid-season finale is like that point where it gets really dark and something big happens usually.
Something big always happens. Any predictions right now? Let's put our bets on this poker table right here. Who's dying next?
I would definitely say maybe a lower echelon character like maybe Tara or someone who is important to the group, but not, I would say, as high level as like Glenn was, just so we could just get the ball rolling, which then leads back to my thought about Simon being the one to do it. Because he could, like I said, he could be exerting his, trying to assert his dominance. Or maybe Maggie makes the first move. Maybe she gets enough people to follow her. It's just something needs to really kick this thing into high gear, in my opinion, to kind of get the ball rolling.
What do you guys think?
I think it's all going to end in Negan's town.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where all the characters who don't really care about what happens are all heading there. I have a feeling that's where the season will end, is with a siege of his territory.
Mm-hmm. Any death predictions?
I'm thinking maybe Enid.
Maybe.
It's a character that we've seen pop up more and more, and kind of I'm thinking that she could be one of those that gets killed off at the midseason because we care about her, but she's not as big of a character as the main cast.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and maybe that's just enough to push Carl over into growing up.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that's finally where he might grow up and might actually all of the deaths might finally get to him.
Got
where
it.
Like he said in the episode, he watched those deaths. He didn't look away.
Yep.
And still he hasn't grown up from them.
And this one will push him to finally get a haircut. And finally get rid of the hat.
Will Carl get a haircut? We'll find out next week. Okay, the next episode is called Swear. So who's going to die? Let us know in the comments below. I'd really like to see Zombie Carl on the roller skates with the hat on. That would be pretty funny. So leave your comments and questions down below, and we'll include you next time. And for all things nerding out, tune in to GameSpot Universe.